How does a planet so small and so far from the Sun have an atmosphere? This is Pluto in a minute. Pluto's orbit actually crosses Neptune's, so for about 2 decades of every 248 Earth-year orbit Pluto makes around the Sun, it's inside the orbit of Neptune. It turns out Neptune has a huge effect on Pluto's orbit, and the two bodies are actually in resonance with one another. For every 2 orbits Pluto makes around the Sun, Neptune makes 3, and scientists think that Neptune is actually the reason Pluto is where it is. One dynamic model of the solar system presented in the 1990s suggested that the planets actually formed closer to the Sun than they are now. It's possible under this model that Pluto formed at about 30 AU. In the mid-2000s, another model was presented called the Nice model that suggested that Pluto could have formed as close as 15 AU. With all these huge gas giants orbiting so closely together, their gravity eventually threw this system into chaos. The planets' orbits were flung further out from the Sun, and all the small bodies were also flung further out. At some point, Pluto and Neptune became locked together in this resonance. So the question is, if Pluto formed closer to the Sun, how close was it? The data from New Horizons will doubtlessly shed some light on this question, but in the meantime, if you want to know more about Pluto, be sure to check out the New Horizons websites, and tweet your questions using the hashtag PlutoFlyby. And of course, come back tomorrow for more Pluto in a minute.
Well, hello everybody. It's nice to be back. I'm here with David Levy, and you're watching the 151st Global Star Party with the theme of a deeper view. And it's good to be back on with you, David. It's been several weeks, so it's always fun to put these programs together. And so what is your take on the theme itself, on a deeper view?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Scotty. And welcome, Lori. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say this afternoon. My poetical contribution today is going to be directly related to the theme of a deeper view. And it begins with a question. Have any of you considered why the night sky is dark? I mean, we take it for granted that the night sky is dark, just like we take it for granted that ice floats. If you get a glass of water and you put an ice cube in it, the ice cube will drop a little bit down in the glass and then float back up to the surface. Nobel Prize winner George Wald did a beautiful program on that, where he said ice floats, therefore life on Earth is possible. And his reasoning was that in the very first winter, when you had the little worm-like creatures of early life crawling along the bottom of the ponds, and the winter would come and the layer of ice would form on the top and then sink to the bottom, eventually the pond would be, and all the ponds would be frozen solid, and all the little worm-like animals would die. But because ice does not sink, it floats, the first layer forms a protective cover for the pond, which stays a liquid, allowing the little worm-like creatures to stay alive, and eventually evolve to become you and me. The other one is just as simple and just as profound. The night sky is dark. We know that the night sky, hello Adrian, we know that the night sky is dark. We all take that for granted. But why? And who was the first person that asked the question, why is the night sky is dark? It was asked by a number of people in Grecian times, but I think obviously the one who was most famous who asked the question was Heinrich Olbers from Germany. The night sky is dark. It shouldn't be dark. There are so many galaxies and stars and nebulae and everything else in the sky that every square inch of sky should be lighting on the surface of the star. Therefore, the night sky should be as bright as the surface of the sun, which means blindingly bright, which means there is no way life could exist on the Earth. That's not true. The night sky is dark and life is possible. And the solution of the night sky is dark paradox, which is commonly known now as Olber's paradox, was really not finalized until just recently when with Hubble and his expanding universe and the Hubble Space Telescope and the Webb Space Telescope confirmed the age of the universe and the fact that a good portion of it has not, a good portion of the light from this universe hasn't even reached us yet, which means the night sky is dark and life is possible. But who is the person, the earliest person, I think, that really came up with the solution to that? Was it a famous scientist like Edwin Hubble? No. They needed someone with an imagination, someone who would dream a little bit, who would go out and say a few things, take a few chances. And that person was someone you are all familiar with, Edgar Allan Poe. He's one of the most famous writers in English literature, and certainly one of the most famous American writers. The year before he died, in 1848, he wrote an essay called Eureka, in which he says, he evaluates the night sky paradox and the surface of the sun paradox, and he says that the reason that the sky is dark is that the light from the farthest objects has not reached us yet. And I mean, he wrote that in 1848, just before he died. But what I want to do now is to go back to 1844, when he was writing The Raven, which I'm sure is a poem you are all familiar with. It's one of the most famous poems in literature. He wrote it in 1844 and published in January 1845. In it, he mentions the word darkness. Not once, because we mentioned it once, it's an accident. Not twice, he mentioned it twice, could be an accident. But 3 times he puts in the word darkness. And of course, it should be in there because it's about a raven and it's supposed to be dark. But I think that Edgar Poe shares the idea that I had, that darkness is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing because it relates to the fact that the night sky is dark. It allows people like Scotty and Adrian and Lori and me and all of you to look up at the night sky and enjoy it. So for my poetical quotation today, I'm going to read you 3 stanzas from The Raven. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was that whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. And at this point, I'm going to interrupt my own reading to say that there is a modern day relationship to the raven. When Jean and Carolyn were alive and they were living in Flagstaff, 2 ravens kind of adopted Jean and Carolyn, and they came in and they started eating the food, and of course Carolyn and Jean would be feeding them a little bit so they would stay, and they did. And what do you know, they named those 2 birds Never and More. And as far as I know, those birds are still there, enjoying the home that Jean and Carolyn gave them for so long. And now the last of the 3 verses. Then this ebony bird beguiling, I said, chancelled into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven. ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Hope you enjoyed that little thing. And
Yeah,
back to you, Scotty.
that was very good. That was very good. Thank you. Well, we have a nice group of people watching live. Let me get some of the names here. We've got Mike Wiesner. I know there's people out there watching that don't chat, but thank you for tuning in anyways. Pekka Haltola from Stockholm is tuning in, sadly from the hospital, but we're hoping that you get better soon, Pekka. John Ray is watching here on Facebook, and we've got Paul Burgart watching on YouTube, and Tina Duzanis. Hopefully I got that correct, Tina. Sorry if I messed that up. I think I already mentioned John Ray, but anyhow, thank you all for tuning in to our 151st Global Star Party. Coming up next here, we have Lori Ansorge, and she is with the Tri-State Astronomers, with the Astronomical League, with the Girl Scouts, and with many organizations that have to do with astronomy here. So, so before you start sharing there, Lori, I'll give a little intro here for you. So here we go, and I did all that hard work to make that, so I had to show it. So let's bring you on, Lori. Thank you for coming on to the 151st Global Star Party. This is your second time to be on representing the Astronomical League. And I like the background there, the books, the astronomical images. It looks like there's a star map back there. Got your league shirt on. It's awesome. We're all going to be at the Astronomical League Conference, the Alcon event. That's going to be in Kansas City, Missouri, coming up here this July. And so I'll let you take that away, Lori. And, you know, I know that you have also your topic that you're going to be talking about here, but our theme is a deeper view. So take it away.
What a great theme too. And just a plug for the league in the background is also my pins that I'm amassing from the observing programs that I certainly can't speak enough of or about. So I am going to share a screen.
Yeah, they have so many observing programs. I think it's over 80 observing programs.
It's a lot. And then there's also a lot of, gotta get this back to the beginning. There's also a lot of observing challenges, which if folks aren't familiar with them, they need to take a look at those. They're usually short and sweet, and a lot of times there's 2 levels, and they're very achievable. The really cool thing about the observing challenges is that you can get your toe dipped into other challenges by doing a challenge. I dipped my toe into the globular cluster observing challenge 2 years ago, and then took a look at the rest of the program and was feeling like I could do it. And so I did. And so that's pretty cool. So with the deeper view, I thought that was a really great theme. I took this to a little bit of a level. I like fairy tales, so I'm going to start off with Once Upon a Time. And I'm figuring that this is something that David might appreciate too, with his immense background in literary stuff. So once upon a time, I started enjoying the night sky. I don't know when or how, but I did. And I remember that in college, as a photo student, I was taking pictures of star trails that ended up in some of the works that I had to do. And I think this page might be one of the few things that survived that. But I yearned for a deeper view. I became a trained photographer, ran commercial photo labs, serendipity took hold. And it was great because during that time we had Comet Halley, the first comet that I've ever observed. And in order to get that, this is a reprint here in the middle from Astronomy Magazine from 1986. I had to go out with my Canon AE1, and I had to go out with this push-pull film that was pretty new at the time. I had the laboratory to myself, and so I had that slide film running at the slowest speed that any film had ever gone through that processor ever. It took me 6 tries going out there and shooting on different nights. And for those of us that might remember Comet Halley, it was dubbed a disappointment because it was so dim. In fact, I could not see it with my naked eye or the lenses that I had. The only way I could see it was taking my slide film and putting my loop on it on a light table and comparing it to star charts. And that little tiny thing that you see there, maybe, because it is very tiny on the screen, is just a little bit off the angle of the rest of the star trails and exactly where it needed to be. But my Canon AE1 wasn't enough. I still yearned for a deeper view. Fast forward in life a little bit, and we acquired an 8-inch Newtonian German equatorial mount scope secondhand. And I didn't know anything about the Astronomical League or clubs, but I started a journal anyway. My idea of the journal was to write what I saw, but it was still a little bit unsatisfactory because I was going to the internet and downloading NASA images or whatever I could find that could kind of give me a sense of what I'd seen. So I cut them out, I pasted them into my log, and I'm worried nobody was ever going to see this. This was for me. For a photographer, and I'm sure that Adrian later will be able to speak to this too, it's rather unsatisfactory. Well, fast forward, I'm still working full time at this point in my life, raising 2 kids, and I've moved up in the world from cut and paste to a little Canon point and shoot. And with it, have discovered the paint program that comes free on your computers. And with that, I got Comet Neowise. I'd gotten a couple other comets like Lovejoy and whatnot in the meantime. And I also got the ISS with my cell phone while finding Aldebaran, Venus, and Pleiades in the neighborhood. But still, when you're looking at these fabulous images out there and knowing that there's more to see, and star hopping is so hard in a light polluted area with your 8-inch equatorial mount telescope, I still yearned for that deeper view. Then in March 2022, there was a life-changing event. To my club came somebody who had gotten an EV scope too. Now, this isn't for everybody, and it's not Adrian Bradley's level of astrophotography, but I just will enjoy his stuff and what he does, and I love hearing him speak and others. This was my thing. I could finally see what it was that I was looking at in a way that I could comprehend it and understand it. So in the left corner here, I have 5 different shots taken of the C2017 K2 Pan-STARRS comet. By the way, I did sense them with this scope, get the silver level comet award in the program, and I'm working towards my goal. We need some more comets, folks. So all hail the solar system, send them our way. And I did get that silver level in June of last year. And I also worked on those tiny globular clusters and got that one in September of 22. So the unistellar became exactly that niche of what it was that I needed. So in my fairy tale, I've gone from my downloaded images from the internet into my little hand-scribed notes to now spreadsheets and file paths for where I've got my images stored, and notes that I can then upload and put in for Astronomical League observing programs. And sometimes the programs will even let you take an observation from one and use it for another, which is kind of handy. And sometimes I just want to go see it again because sky conditions weren't all that great. But I was able to finally get my deeper view. But wait, there's more. So if you look at the left here, this is sort of a time lapse of what it is that we get to see, and many of the folks that we also do the outreach with get to see over time. I'll have them come over, look in the eyepiece, and then I'll have them come back over and look at the eyepiece, because this marvelous telescope stacks these images in real time. What does that mean? It keeps taking these pictures, one every 4 seconds, and it glues them together automatically, those electrons coming together, taking these photons and doing their work, so that at the end of the exposure, you've got this ready-made picture that's not beautiful Hubble level stuff, but I can tell that the pinwheel galaxy is a galaxy and it's a spiral, which is all I wanted from my scope. Still like my fuzzy blobs, but this is for me. And then on the right, we've got the solar eclipse again from April down in the Explore Scientific expedition. This really knocked my socks off. I mentioned this last time I was on, because I'm looking at those solar flares and I had no idea my little scope would do that. But I am tickled to death with it. And if anybody wants to know, theeasygift.com is a real easy place to take your multiple images and put them together to have this instant free little video that happens. So with all of that, I get to enjoy my deeper view while under the stars and not spending hours in front of my computer. But I retired as a IT supervisor, so I don't want to spend hours behind my computer in my retirement. I want to enjoy my dark skies. And I'm very happy looking at other people's computer processing. We had one speaker at our last club meeting who said that I asked him, how many hours did you spend doing that post-processing on that image? That image, not plural. And his response was somewhere between 40 and 50 hours.
Wow.
I've got too many hobbies, and I like to quilt, amongst other things, and garden and socialize. But anyway, I've basically decided that in my journey for a deeper view, that what they call electronic assisted astronomy, or EAA, is for me. That's my niche. So on the far left here, because of that electronic assisted astronomy, I'm able to see the sunspots and the granulation of what's happening with a solar filter for white light on there. And I can blow it up on my computer screen if I want to see more. That's actually whet my appetite for H alpha solar viewing. And so I'm looking at that now too. In the middle there, you've got the Flame Nebula, and these aren't particularly long exposures, but I can tell it's a flame nebula, and I can enjoy others who've put all of the time into the computer processing to see their flame nebulas. But this is a little snapshot in time of my experience that night with the Flame Nebula. And on the right, thanks to the extra efforts on the app developers at Unistellar, I've got a pretty decent image of the moon. that if I had this capability and that app version at the time, maybe I could have used that for one of the lunar challenges or the lunar program before, but I think it's good enough you can use it now. So I'm looking forward to that. So in my fairy tale, we are living happily ever after with our equipment. In the bottom center is my dear husband, who is, I guess we're unicorns. It doesn't seem like this hobby has many married couples that are into it, that enjoy going out there and observing and the equipment and all that stuff. And we've got our own little division of labor. If there's post-processing, he'll actually take it up. And I've met these wonderful people along the way, like David there in the lower left corner, and Maynard, who's the executive secretary for the Astronomical League. My cats, of course, are interested in the equipment, as you can see. And of course, we're very involved in our club, as you can see from the work on the dome. So that's my deeper view into the universe and how I like to enjoy it. And as I am working with the Astronomical League and blessed to be here, I just want to remind everybody that July 17th through 20th, so we're a month out, we're going to Kansas City and we're going to Alcon, the Astronomical League Convention. It'll be at the Doubletree by Hilton. Don't know when the cutoff deadlines are, but I do know that David is his talk has now been sold out, and we're looking forward to hearing from him. And there's quite a bit of speakers that they have firmed up. And I just recently looked at the lineup again, and it's filling in very nicely. It's always a great time. You get to meet new people that you get to talk to again. And then I have one more plug, and that is, before we get to questions, let me stop my share and pull this up. We have the astronomical, let's see, we have a astronomical festival down on the mall in DC coming up this Saturday. So if anybody wants to beat the
That's
heat.
with Hofstra University, right?
That is correct. And I hopefully or have got this up on the screen now. It's down on the mall. It's outside of the Hirshhorn Sculpture Garden, which is towards the Capitol end. Runs from 6 to 11. That means we'll have solar and we will have nighttime viewing. I will have a unistellar out there so that very light polluted sky won't be disappointing. You will be able to see things as long as there aren't thick clouds in there. And so I'll stop there and ask if there are questions from anybody.
Well, no questions, but lots of praise for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. And couple things, I was jealous because in your chart, you had a globular cluster known as 47 Tucanae. I've seen Omega Centauri, but I have not seen 47 Tucanae. I have to actually go to the southern hemisphere for that. So that's something I'm hoping to do in the next years of lifetime to save for. And I love the fact that EAA is something that you embrace. That's actually what I did when I started in astronomy. And it was the path that got me into doing wide field astrophotography, landscape. It's had so many names, came from wanting to do something with photography and wanting to combine that with astronomy and not be beholden to cloudy skies or even the same place and lugging around a bunch of equipment. That's it. And it grew into what I'm doing today. So, no, hats off to the way that you attack your passion for the night sky. And it's definitely something, those EV scopes, and there was something else that I used called the Revolution Imager, and the EV scope is the much better and easier package that takes up where that started. So No, that's awesome. And I will be in attendance at Alcon. So I look forward to meeting you and everyone who's there.
I'm hoping you'll sign my magazine with your layout in it. I'm planning on bringing it when I see you there. And I'll just put in
Absolutely.
a plug to say we still use the Revolution eyepiece.
Nice.
It's still a nice
Still,
thing to use. Even with solar, with a bit of a tent outside for kids to see it better and also to make it more accessible to the scope for folks.
Hmm.
So we're
yeah.
very into the outreach thing. I'll just say that I've gone a little bit further with Unistellar. Right before the annular eclipse, they accepted me in their beta tester program.
Oh, cool.
So I've had a chance to help give them the feedback to help make that product better so that I could have a better product.
That's
Everybody wins.
that's how it
Everybody
usually
wins.
works.
That's right.
But
That's
yeah,
right.
awesome. I look forward to just being there. Sure, I'll sign anyone's
Thanks.
magazine if it's there. We'll enjoy the programming there too. So oh,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Very good. Very
One of
good.
the things that I would like to add is your take on the deeper view theme of this week. I mean, whether it is a philosophical deeper view or whether it is a deeper view using more advanced equipment, as you did, or whether it is a deeper view just looking up a little more deeply and thinking about it. I think your presentation really, really added to the theme of this week's Star Party. I just loved it, Lori. Thank you very much.
Thank
And I'll
you.
see you in
Thank you.
Texas.
That means so much to me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, all right. So we are going to move on to the next section here. I've thrown in a few videos, short videos from NASA that hopefully kind of go along with the theme as well. But you know, when I look at all the work that goes into that programming that NASA and the European Space Agency put forward, we're really, really fortunate to live in these times, you know. The visualizations and stuff that they do are just amazing. And so I think you'll agree. This one is from the Hubble Space Telescope.
This is an image of a lensing galaxy cluster called MAX 1149. And this particular galaxy cluster is very interesting because it is a lens for a gravitationally lensed supernova. This supernova was nicknamed Supernova Refstal, so you can actually see this cool spiral galaxy that looks kind of like it's melting. It almost looks like a little bit like a Salvador Dali painting of a galaxy. This is actually a gravitationally lensed background galaxy that you're seeing multiple images of. And you can see some of these little dots here are a supernova that has gone off in this background galaxy and then been gravitationally lensed so we can see multiple images of it. So we can actually see the same supernova going off multiple times in this image, which makes it particularly cool to see. These 4 dots are appearing in a pattern called an Einstein cross. Closer to the center of this massive galaxy, this brightest fuzzy yellow object here would be the very center of the galaxy cluster. This is where most of the mass is going to be. This is why you get the strongest distortions from gravitational lensing here. You can sort of see this third image of the galaxy that's really stretched out. You can sort of barely see it behind this brightest cluster galaxy. Gravitational lensing works where the galaxy cluster or any other massive object bends the space around it. With a massive object like this galaxy cluster in outer space, it deforms the space around it. And then as light travels through that deformed, warped space, the light bends just like looking through a glass lens. This is another view of this lensing galaxy cluster, along with a zoom in of the lensed supernova. You can see here, this is the image that we were looking at previously, along with a few extra details added. So this is our cute little Hubble Space Telescope down here, not perfectly to scale. And then you have an image of what the background galaxy would look like back here. And these white lines are kind of tracing where the light from this background galaxy would travel through the galaxy cluster. It acts as a lens. It actually bends the light rays back towards each other and back towards our telescope here. Then if we look at this zoomed in version down here, you have these 4 yellow points of light here, which are all images of the same gravitationally lensed supernova, a ref stall. So this supernova would have originated somewhere in this galaxy, and then the light from it would travel along these different paths around this lens, eventually meeting back up at our Hubble Space Telescope. And what's really awesome about this is that by measuring the different time that it takes for the light to travel from its source to our telescope through these different paths around the gravitational lens, we can get a really strong constraint of exactly how far away this supernova is, and therefore a really strong constraint of how quickly the universe is expanding. This is an incredibly exciting image. Gravitationally lensed supernova, like the one that we're seeing in this image, is sort of a one-of-a-kind object. It really gives us a very unique look at how these supernovae can interact with the gravitational lens. It gives us a ton of additional information on both the dark matter within the gravitational lens itself and a good amount of information on how the universe is expanding. So this is kind of an open question that we're still battling with as astronomers, is exactly how quickly the universe is expanding. One of the cool things about these gravitationally lensed supernovae is that once you see one image of it, you can predict when the other images are going to show that same supernova. This Einstein cross here was the first image of the supernova that was observed, but we were able to predict that the other images of the galaxy, one of them would have shown up about 20 years prior, and then they were able to predict that actually this image over here, the lens supernova was going to appear in this image about a year after this first one was discovered. So astronomers were then able to go back with the Hubble Space Telescope and observe it about when they predicted for the second image to show up, and they were actually able to find it a year later, which was a really cool confirmation of the predictions. We were able to actually predict where it was going to be, and then it showed up, so it sort of very clearly shows that our models are working very well. This is a unique way of measuring that expansion using these gravitationally lensed supernovae. And this particular example is one of the best that we have. So this is a really incredible opportunity to study a whole lot of different components of the universe.
Okay, our next speaker, let me get rid of my echo here, although that does sound kind of cool. Anyways, our next speaker is Ron Breacher, and Ron is a master astrophotographer. And he gives online tutorials on how to use PixInsight, which is a very advanced image and very powerful image processing program. But Ron includes me in his distribution of his pictures of the week, and they are just mind-blowing. And so, Ron, I want to thank you for coming on to the 151st Global Star Party. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, so excellent. So what are you covering for us today? It was the topic is photons to photos.
Yeah, I always try to tie into your theme, a deeper view. And I show a lot of my astrophotos, but I don't really talk too much about how they're made. And of course, it all starts with capturing photons with your telescope or your lens, and then recording those photons on some kind of sensor, whether it's film, in the old days, or now on digital media. So I thought it would be fun to just share with you how that's done, but in fairly plain language. I'm not going to open an image processing program, and I'm not going to pull any bells, pull any levers or push any buttons. I just want to talk about the process and give you an appreciation of what it takes to catch photons in the first place. They're like butterflies, you got to catch them first, and then make them really look beautiful. So let me share my screen with you, and I'll just start the slideshow. So, by the way, I'm sorry I couldn't be at the 150th. I was giving another presentation, so I thought that was a really important milestone, and I wanted to congratulate you on that,
Oh,
Scott.
thanks. Thank you.
So
Thank
I
you.
want to just sort of put my presentation in the context of tonight's theme, and then I'm going to show you how to take photons to photos in 6 easy steps. And I say that tongue firmly in cheek. And I'm going to just sort of walk you through one example. So in terms of the deeper view, Scott talked about the revolutionary observational power of modern telescopes. And he noted the James Webb Space Telescope, but I think it's also noteworthy how many amateurs are using incredible telescopes right in their own backyard. And we're all on this quest to gaze deeper into space and time and unravel the mysteries of the universe's earliest galaxies. And again, even with amateur equipment from your backyard, you can see some of the earliest galaxies. So let's have a look. So the first thing you have to do is acquire the data. And what you're looking at here, believe it or not, is a single 20-minute exposure in hydrogen alpha on the California Nebula. Doesn't look like much, does it? That's because the sky is dark at night. Most of the pixels are almost black. They're not quite black, but they're almost black. And in fact, I'm going to take those nearly black pixels and I'm going to make them brighter without letting the stars get too bright. You can see a couple of bright stars like this one here. Yeah, so here's what we're kind of looking at. So we have to acquire the data. This is a single 20-minute exposure, but you can see it's really noisy. I've made the data visible. Really, it looked like this. But I've made some of those nearly black pixels visible. And you can see there's a lot of noise in there. And all kinds of other junk too. So you can see, for example, the corners are dark if you look in this picture. If you look up close, there's some up and down, vertical lines in the data too. Overall, really nasty. That's because we're using our cameras in extremely difficult conditions for the camera. Low light, low contrast. So we have to take out all this junk. There's at the lower left, dark signal, that's accounting for all the speckling. There's bias signal, which is accounting for some of those vertical lines that you can see. And then the darkening in the corners and any dust spots you might see is due to imperfections in your optics. Dust on the filter, for example. But when you clean up a raw frame like this, and you align them and combine them, a whole bunch of them, this is what you get.
Oh, nice.
So this is a single 20-minute frame. This is 25 20-minute frames that have been properly calibrated so the corners are nice and bright. Those little dark, bright speckles, they're all gone. And this is now a nice stack for one filter. But of course, we have to, with my camera, it's a black and white camera. So I have to repeat as needed for every filter, depending on what I'm trying to shoot. So that might just be natural red, green, blue, or it might be the Hubble palette, sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen emissions. Or maybe I'll shoot Hubble palette and add some natural color stars. And for the image I'm going to show you in a moment, I added hydrogen alpha to the natural color galaxy. And you can also do just narrowband hydrogen and oxygen. So then you got to process the image. If you've got a mono camera like I do, you got to make a color image. Then you do the linear processing. So what does linear mean? A file is linear when there's a relationship between the number of photons that hit the sensor and how bright a pixel is. So if you get one photon hitting a pixel and next to it 100 photons hitting that pixel, the readings should be 100-fold different. So that's a nice linear relationship. And when that relationship exists while the picture is really dark, you can take out gradients of color, you can do color correction, you can remove any blurring, you can remove noise. After that's done, then we do the artistic steps. So we make the image more like a daytime image. So we brighten everything, sharpen it, adjust the color brightness and contrast. So let's walk that through, let me walk you through that with an example. So this is going to be Messier 108. This is just a single unstretched image, but this is what's really there. So here I combined the 3 red, green, and blue images, and I put a temporary stretch on for you to see. I do want to highlight that there's all kinds of problems here. I don't know if you can see this satellite trail that goes, I'm going to just, there's a green satellite trail there. And I highlighted some dust spots. These are shadows of dust spots that I'm going to have to take care of. But on the other hand, look at all the tiny little galaxies here. They're everywhere in this field.
Yep.
So this is going to be fun. So I took the stars out and did some processing, added the hydrogen alpha into it, and then I stretched it. And so now what I did is I've made it permanently like this, not just temporary. I've brightened the galaxy, but left the background nice and dark. And I took the stars out and worked on them separately. But then I put them back. And this is the final image.
Really pretty.
And here you have Messier 108. This is easily visible through a small telescope. Even a 4 or 6 inch telescope will give you a great view of this. It's well placed right now in the northern hemisphere. It's fairly high up in the northwestern sky, shortly after dark. You won't see it like this. It'll just look like a smudge, like the head of a Q-tip. But it's beautiful. And the fact is, you're seeing something that's 28 million light years away. And you won't see these, but all these other little galaxies, this one here, this one up here, down here, this little guy over here, this one here, there's another one here, more down here, several of them over here. All of those galaxies are far, far in the background. So they're hundreds of millions of light years away. Now, this is step 5, processing the image. There really is a step 5A, and that is sending it to one friend in 5 or 10 different versions, because you can't make up your mind of which you like the best. But eventually, step 5 is over and we move to step 6. And step 6 is to get blown away. Basically, I run an annotation program at the end of every process. And all the yellow annotations here, the numbers at least, are they're all galaxies. But all the white annotations are quasars from very, very early in our galaxy. And this is what Scott was talking about when he referred to looking deep back into the early days of the universe. And I want to highlight for you the 2 bold circles at lower right in this image. Those are 2 quasars, and they're 9.3 billion light years away, this top one. And I think you can see in the crosshairs, it's clearly visible
Yes.
from my backyard.
Wow.
9.3 billion years of light travel time. And this one is even more impressive and also clearly visible and almost 13 billion light years away.
Geez.
So, you know, the James Webb is amazing. I'm not trying to compete with it. I'm just blown away that I can see so far into the distant past. And that's what I wanted to show you today. If anybody's interested in getting in touch with me, you can find me at astrodoc.ca or rbreacher@rogers.com, RBRECHER @rogers.com. And look for my articles in Sky and Telescope. This is the telescope that I shot M108 with. It's a 14-inch Celestron Edge HD with the QHY 600 mono camera. I used all opto-long filters and also a QHY off-axis guider. Prima Luce Eagle controlling the run and a Prima Luce focuser, rotator. This is a really beautiful Paramount MX mount, which I've had since, I think, 2013. So 11, 12 years and running like a champ. And you can tell I'm looking very happy in this picture. It was a good day.
Yeah, it's a beautiful rig and a wonderful observatory that you got there too.
Oh yeah, it's like the best man cave ever. I'm telling you. I love it. Okay, let me stop my share.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And thank you as always for having me on. I love doing this.
Yeah, we love having you on. So, David, what did you think of Ron's images? You're
You're
muted.
muted,
You're
Dave.
mute.
Unmuting. I just want to
Unmuted.
say that each time we get a lecture tonight, it gives us a different parameter on the depth of the night sky. We have one from Laurie, one from Edgar Poe, and one from you, and all very different, all extremely valid, and all just wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
speaking of just wonderful, you know, the Canadians have renamed the James Webb Telescope. They left the initials JWST, but they call it the Just Wonderful Space Telescope.
Just-
Well, Ron, I was impressed with the rig that you had. There are two things that really stuck out. I've gone into the wide field because carrying a 14-inch scope and a rig like that to be under the stars just wasn't going to work. I traded my truck in, so the little vehicle I got now just doesn't work. But you made a very, very salient point. I'm not just going to say good. You showed those quasars in your image, and the fact that with your gear, to me, the real value of knowing your gear is now you've got a lot more universe than those who focus solely on their one image. There's a lot more there, and it's worth it to look at, well, what else did you get besides your main image? And it really it deepens, we're talking about a deeper view. You're right. That's a deeper view right there. You're seeing a lot more
It's
out of your
mind-blowing.
image than just the main, you're not the focus on that one image is one thing, but to realize just how much of a slice of universe you've got, you every time you fire that thing up, you're traveling through time further back
Oh
in
yeah.
time than you may think. So
And every
no,
time
that's
I
the
every
go.
time I point that thing in the direction of a bright galaxy, there's 100 faint ones behind it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Amateur astronomers are so fortunate, especially we're in this golden age of astronomy. And, at what other time were amateur astronomers doing this kind of work from their backyard?
Oh,
The
yeah.
answer is never,
Never.
so it's really wonderful. So, and
There is one thing I want to add to what you just said and to what Ron just said, that whenever you point your telescope at a bright galaxy, there are many faint ones right behind it, and faint ones behind each of those faint ones, and fainter
Yeah.
ones behind each of those
Yeah.
fainter ones. But as you go deeper and deeper, you still don't get over the fact that despite all of this, there's still only one Ron in the universe, only one Scotty Roberts, only one Adrian,
David
only
Levy,
one Cesar, and
Yeah.
even only one David.
yes.
And I just wanted to add that little extra.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, don't forget one Lori. She's
You wouldn't
still
want more
lurking
than
back
one.
there.
You
I
wouldn't-
see her.
You wouldn't want more than
And
one.
let's not
I'm
forget our
already-
audience here.
I'm already
Thanks,
a
Adrian.
Gemini.
Very cool. Very
Sorry,
cool.
Laura. Yeah, only one of you two.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay. See you
So
later,
we
you
are-
guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Ron.
you,
Thank
Ron.
you.
Bye.
David, we are going to watch another really cool NASA video, and this has to do with one of my favorite objects, and I think one of yours too. This is the Horsehead Nebula. So let's check that out. It's just a few minutes, and I think it's an excellent visualization.
Just before we get on to Adrian, I just want to mention that even though the Horsehead is extremely easy to photograph, it is almost impossible to see. I've seen it, and it really is tough. You need a very dark sky and a little bit of averted imagination to
Yeah.
see it. But it's there, but it photographs extremely easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
David, I've seen it. Someone put a filter on to make it a little easier. First, we saw Thor's helmet. Then he pointed that 18, was it an 18-inch obsession, I think? Large scope, pointed it at the Horsehead Nebula. And I took a look at that and crossed something off of the bucket list because as much as you can even get the Horsehead with a 35 millimeter lens on a regular camera, but to see it with your own eyes is something magical. And we were
Absolutely.
there at Okie with somebody who had the right equipment to do it, and that goes down in as one of my most enjoyable moments at Okie. Both of my two most enjoyable moments actually have to do with Orion, and so that was one of them. And the other
What was
one
the other?
was seeing the zodiacal light cross the Orion spur with Orion sitting over there. About 3 or 4 in the morning, I was actually trying to rush to a porta potty, and I looked up at that sky, and that was the first time I'd seen that whole winter circle, the Orion area in that sky, and it stopped everything. I didn't even have to worry about the porta potty because nothing moved for. I'm telling you the truth. I did
Yeah.
not have to use the bathroom for about a minute. Just looking, it's like my body forgot that it was rushing to get somewhere. And then it began to, as everything began to wake up, and I said, I got to get samples of this. Then everything started to turn on again. I made it safely to the porta potty, got my equipment, and the images that I've tried to take of this have not done justice to what I saw with my own eyes. That it's a memory I'll never forget. That memory even beats seeing the core of the galaxy come out at me during nautical twilight. It, that and seeing the horse head, with my eyes beats both of, beats all of my core memories. I guess the core coming out and being that bright was number 3, but yeah, it has to take third place compared to those two views.
Excellent.
So and unfortunately, my presentation, David and Scott, probably won't have any Orion in it, but it will have some of the techniques that you saw Ron talk about can actually come into play when you're doing night sky photography with your own camera. Scott, I can go ahead and start if you
Yeah, let's do
want
that.
to.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, first, before I start, I want to get my screen going and then see if I can share my screen. Let's just share the whole screen. All right. So you can see the view of the presentation that I don't want you to see. And now you're seeing the view of the presentation that I do want you to see. Chasing Dark Skies, a deeper view with a few images and a familiar poem. One thing that I like to use these images self images of me looking up at these night sky things. We're in a world where you have a lot of us that come from the photography side, and we're used to taking images. We're used to presenting them, and we're used to, in these days, social media. We post them, we get some likes, loves. We generally don't say a lot about the images. We let the images speak for themselves. In the world of astronomy is where I found a home because I like to talk about exactly what we're seeing, exactly what is this little thing and this little thing next to it, and what are these clusters and marks, and what's all of this about? The year that I'm recreating looking at the Milky Way. I didn't see all of this detail. Well, all I saw looked like a little bit of steam coming out of Sagittarius, the teapot asterism for Sagittarius. And then later, as I learned light pillars, aurora that can come close enough to where this is a live shot. The camera processing is one thing, but these are the actual colors I saw with my eyes. Um, the night sky is a wonderful thing to just enjoy and not just take your images from for whatever, whatever gain that you want to do. So I'm going to discuss, we're going to get deeper into capturing nightscapes and the darkness level. I use an SQML meter because we've all heard of Bortle skies. There's a lot of this is a Bortle 3 sky, this is a Bortle 2 sky, this is a Bortle 4 sky. And when I put the meter up, sometimes the meter tells you what you're dealing with right now. The sky isn't always at that same level. But depending on the darkness of the sky, it affects how some of these techniques, like single frames, taking a single frame untracked of your nightscape, which, in all intents and purposes includes Milky Way photography. You can stack those short exposures to try and get more detail. You can take a single longer exposure. You can stack those longer exposures. You can stack tracked exposures and even do focus stacking for the ground. This level right now, we're here. This is where I'm at, and this is what I would like to experiment with. But when you get to this level, you start to create images that you're combining the night sky with something in the foreground, and you're creating these beautiful landscapes. Sometimes you look at them and go, is this something I would actually see in the natural world? So I use the natural world as sort of my guide. It's something that I would go see if I went there. Like this picture, this is what you would have seen if you were with me. You'd have seen my buddy processing his astrophoto. You would have seen this this thing here, the aurora behind it and the trees, and this faint wisp of the Perseus, Cassiopeia, and the Cygnus part of the Milky Way as it was rising. And so we'll start with what a short exposure looks like, and the background I use is an example of it. I went out and took a few Milky Way images, galactic core images, which are very popular amongst the Milky Way shooters. It is one of the brightest areas in the Milky Way. Most may say it's the brightest, but there was a lot of ground fog. So you have this 30-second image that captures exactly what was going on. I did crop it off of 24 millimeter, and you get a snapshot of what's in the sky. We've got a lot of sky glow out there, and a lot of us that are doing imaging are finding out that there's a lot of sky glow, and there's some, what does that mean? What are we seeing? But a good part of that is due to the fact that we're in a solar maximum period. We're approaching solar maximum, so a more active sun blasts more radiation towards Earth, and at night those reactions are still happening with oxygen, nitrogen, and causing the colors. Green is seen here in this park. There will be some images where you'll see some of the red, some slightly darker sky, and also with a HA modified camera, you see green, you see red. So air glow, if there were aurora, you'd catch it, but you also get your satellites, airplanes, and your chance meteors, and the light pollution from nearby cities and towns is much more pronounced. So the single shots, really fast lenses, your ISO or gain up a little bit, you can get a sense for what's out there in the sky and what you can capture. If you decide to do a stack of it, all of a sudden your detail in your deep space objects, like the cat's paw that shows up here, I call it a challenge object for all us Milky Way shooters. How much detail can we get? M17, M16, small star cloud, M23, M24, M22, M8, M20. The Trifid even shows up here with 38 stacked images. Rho Ophiuchi appears. You've seen beautiful images of this region. You won't quite see that much detail in my shots because they're all a part of this wide angle. Messier 4 globular cluster shows up. There's another smaller globular cluster here, probably not visible. These objects in the night sky that I just mentioned show up. And for me, I like knowing that that's there because when I do my Milky Way photography, I'm not just sticking this thing in front of something that's beautiful to see in the foreground. I want the detail there because that lets me know if I've got the type of detail that I like in the night sky. And stacking your images and using something like Starry Landscape Stacker can help achieve that detail. Now, here you've got a regular dark sky park with someone doing some imaging. I forget, he was going after the there's by the North Star, there's sort of intergalactic flux that's around Polaris. When it's captured beautifully, it's something to look at. But he's attempting to capture frames over there, and I'm capturing him and everything else in a single shot. So there's equipment to buy, like a tracker for what you're going to see next, but doing this 10 seconds each, take a number of exposures. You can freeze your camera. You don't have to track, and it helps you get into getting a little more detail with your night sky, and you can, improve. You can take more sky images if you want to try and get even more detail without a tracker. But keep in mind, if you're setting up a scene, the difference between regular deep sky DSO astrophotography and widescape is this scene is going to change, and at some point this part of the Milky Way is going to be over here. If you want a single image, you have a limited amount of time to capture the data you're going to capture. And so we go with a longer exposure, and this is where the longer exposures, you're pulling in more data. Now you're seeing all the dust lanes here. You're seeing more dust lanes now. Somehow the cat's paw disappeared here, so not as happy with the image, but you see more dust lanes, you see more detail. You're taking your longer exposures, and that's the sort of thing that requires a tracker. So you have a night sky that doesn't, it's not as dark. Your Milky Way photography or just whatever you're looking at in the night sky doesn't come out quite as good, but you can, if you love having the Milky Way in all its glory, no matter where you are, you can take longer exposures and stack those, and it will begin to show some of the detail of the Milky Way that is normally reserved for taking images at darker skies. So if you do go ahead and invest in a tracker, consider taking stacks of longer exposures and learning how to do your composites. No, you see some of this around the tree. That's some of the cleanup that didn't happen when I went to combine the single shot for the land here and the shot with the night sky. The better you get at composites, the more these sort of techniques you can use. And this is the same place with a longer tracker, something that was able to achieve 5 minutes. And our cat's paws back here. We go through the lettering. The cat's paws back here, butterflies here, Ptolemy's cluster right in between this U. You see some of the detail of the dark nebula. It's really the dark nebula that bring out parts of our galaxy, any part of the Milky Way that we can see. Getting good imaging of this dark nebula, good contrast of the dark nebula, brings all of that out, and then the rest of what you've got here with Scorpius next to it. Those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, everything below horizon is yours to image. Your Southern Cross is down there. When Orion is in the sky in the same spot, you all have the Magellanic Clouds. You have the Eta Carinae region. You've got where the Southern Cross is. You've got that whole the southern bulge. You've got a lot more to play with over there. We have the Cygnus region, and I think for a brief moment you get to see the Cygnus region and anything north like the Cassiopeia region, but that doesn't stay in your sky very long. Going to a darker sky, this is a shorter exposure, and here's some things to look out for. There's noise reduction tools that can take care of the grainy result, but they can also, because you're combining land with sky, your land ends up being more painterly, or just it gets blurry, thanks to the noise reduction tool that you use. So you have to use your pick and choose your noise reduction. You're always better off getting as good an exposure as you can. If you're somewhere darker, this is 21.1 on an SQML meter. It's roughly high Bortle 4. If you get to 21.6, you're supposedly Bortle 3. You kind of get an idea of how dark that sky is. So excuse me, taking a single image. Here you've got the Cassiopeia part of the Milky Way. This is Aurora down here, and it's kind of blending in with the sky glow. That sky glow, there's a little bit of reddish sky glow, and it's actually bending into the Aurora top right here. There was some faint Aurora in the distance. And now 5 minutes and combining. Here's the effect I was talking about. This didn't go so well. It looks like it's blurry, fuzzy. Didn't quite work the way I would have wanted to, but the sky absolutely did. Look at Andromeda here. You've got more data from Andromeda by imaging for 5 minutes. M33 is down below the water somewhere. It would have been nice if I had waited long enough to see how that would have looked with a longer exposure. So that's something I'll be able to try sometime soon. Gary Palmer, who's been on the show before, the longer you image, the longer exposure you take, the more data you get. All right, so now let's run to the end here. Now, I like the way this large lake, this is Lake Huron. It's a large sea, one of the Great Lakes, a longer ground image, and you've got a sky image, and you've got a lot of light pollution. Port Huron really is as bright. Over here under these clouds is Canada, and this was 4 times a 2-minute exposure for the sky. Pretty good medium for showing everything that was out there. Your gravity waves from the the air glow. When you see lines like that, you get gravity waves. or at least that's what they're called. You can see them a little better here. This was the 5-minute exposure. It was easier to clean the Milky Way image up here. I paired it with a shorter exposure for the ground and got some of this modeling. So obviously the previous view of the sea paired with this image would make a good final image. And then this was a stacking attempt gone wrong. So I just left the whole thing in. I went 5 times 5 minutes over in this region to see what would happen with these settings, and haze overcame, and it turned into a mess. So if you go to stack and it doesn't work out, then you end up with this throwaway stack. But it was one of those frames I used in a previous image. And so this is important. Use whichever method produces the results you're looking for, and also use the method that you're comfortable with. If you are not as comfortable being out here because it's dark in some of these places, if you're not very comfortable, use a shorter method to capture the Milky Way. And if you're just looking for the plane of the galaxy to be in an image, start with that. Definitely learn the number of things that you can do. And there are photography tricks a lot of people use. Light painting, blue hour imaging, where they'll come take a nice sharp picture of the foreground as the sun goes down, then take a picture of the sky. Sometimes in the same area, sometimes it's a picture of the sky. They've moved it. They'll combine the two. My goal is to take those images minutes apart from the same place so that what I'm sharing is exactly what I saw or what I wanted to take an image of. And so let's see really quick. Here go the images unblocked, and we're just gonna fire through them. These are the images that we took, and they were taken with various methods. The galactic core, Lake Hudson Dark Sky Park. I think we're kind of going backwards. Here's that image of Andromeda. You've got spiral arms out there. Even through this haze, the heart and the soul attempted to make an appearance, and there you've got the double cluster. And a often little known giant cluster, Malat 20, I believe, is this around Murphak in Perseus. Back to notice the difference in the darkness level perceived versus actual when you stack images like this. This gives you kind of an idea of if you were standing there looking at the Milky Way, you'd see this would be all white. You wouldn't quite see as much detail. You wouldn't really see the dust lanes like this, but notice how the dust lanes kind of mix in with the sky. That is accurate for what is there, as opposed to when you stack your longer exposures, you start to make this dust lane get darker. All the dust lanes start to show more contrast. 30-second shot, all of this sky glow wasn't there. It isn't as pronounced because you're stacking a median stack. It takes a lot of that out as opposed to a single image where everything shows up, including, and I left the ground fog in too. Wasn't sure if I was going to get any imaging done with that ground fog. And this is a camera that does not have the hydrogen alpha filter pulled out. This is a camera that does. And so the differences in the white balance, I typically try to match the white balance here. Don't always do as good a job, but with the white balance. This is from the modified camera. I like the sky to try to be what I saw. And if the ground looks believable, that's the actual shade of green, then then I know I'm close. And here's the 30-second image, and there's not much there. So you get as much as you image. And I think with that, I will go ahead and stop. You get as much as you image, but depending on what you're looking for, make the night sky your own. And, lots of beautiful images out there, but, there ought to be a method to what you're doing. There ought to be what is it that you're going after? And, and you keep trying. Even all of us who have done the type of astro imaging that we do, we're still constantly looking for different and better ways to present what it is we want to present. So with that, Scott, I'm sure I ran over time, but
No, that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine.
that is my
you.
first presentation I've actually done in a while, along with
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. I can see that.
Photoshop. So I have to keep
You gave it
doing
a
it.
lot of thought, and you pulled off some great images to show us, and they're always beautiful. I mean, you do just such amazing work. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
yep, I really
Adrian,
appreciate it too.
Adrian, I was listening and watching the beautiful presentation because more than most of your others, you were talking about the process. It was a process story of how you build an image so carefully and the different methods that can be used to build an image. And I just loved it. I think it was the best presentation I've ever heard you give. It was as perfect as can be, and it was really. I hope someone is going to inscribe that presentation in stone and put it in the Lincoln Memorial next to the Gettysburg Address.
Well, I appreciate that. As always, David, there's no presentation or image without the night sky to share with us its beauty. Again, your poetry is there, and and everyone else who loves the night sky and does this sort of stuff. It's less about me and more about presenting the night sky in it, as beautiful light as I can, and not just in certain places that highlight the earth is more. I want the two to work in harmony. So I'll take images in front of it looks like a basic forest or it's a lake. To me, those things are beautiful. You've got earth in the sky, same universe, just we're closer to earth, so we see it a little closer. And the two work together. So it's about treasuring our night sky while we have it.
One of the things that really kind of got to me was during your discussion of your methodology. Reminds me of a story. I was at a one of these astronomy confabs, and I walked to the Canon booth, and I spoke to the people there, and I told them that I have a 20 DA, and I love it, an ancient 20 DA. And they looked at me and said, "Oh, we now have the 60 DA. You got to buy that one. It's so much better." And I said, "I'm not interested in buying another camera. I am interested in telling you that I love my 20 DA." And again, they said, "You have to get the 60 DA, blah, 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 blah." And I just waved at them and walked away. I love my old camera. And now that my Nikon has fallen on hard times, I dropped it and it broke, I'm back to using the old Canon DA, and I love it.
It works just fine. I used an old Canon 30D to start shooting the night sky with. And the 6D that I used, that I got modified, probably a 14-year-old camera. Very solid, produced all but a couple of the images you saw in that presentation. and I love it. It's much better to be out in the dark with something you know than to fumble around with your equipment and stand in frustration and miss what's going on above you. I've done that a couple times trying out different equipment and said, you know what? Never again am I going to be upset while I'm out under the night sky, because what am I upset for? I didn't come out here
Exactly.
so that I could fumble around with equipment and get mad and and not
Right.
think about where I am and that night sky under me. It actually took me, I remember it clearly. I remember looking up at a lot of stars surrounding the Big Dipper, or the Great Bear. So the Big Dipper asterism, I was frustrated because at the time, years and years ago, I wanted to get a particular galaxy that was near the Big Dipper, and I had such a hard time trying to find it, and I was so frustrated. And then I looked up at that sky and I said, I'm wasting this beautiful sky by being more focused on my gear.
Amen to that, Adrian.
I
Yeah.
need
There with
to,
you.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm into that
Lord,
too.
you,
I have a
Absolutely
similar
agree.
story. I was, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was the August 2017 total eclipse of the sun. And it was a beautiful clear sky. Totality began. And I was having trouble taking pictures. The camera was all set, but I was having trouble taking pictures. And I started to get angry for about 3 seconds. And I thought, Levy, there's a total eclipse of the sun up there. Look at it. And boy, did I change my view fast.
yeah, absolutely.
Perspective.
Yeah, perspective here, and I think that's, and then we'll turn it over. I think Cesar has more perspective to share with us from the Southern Hemisphere. And
Yeah.
but we looked at Ron's gear, and a lot of us, we love the gear, and there's nothing wrong with having this great gear as long as we know how to use it, we learn how to use it, it serves its purpose. Too often we can sometimes become wrapped in what gear was used, what are the settings, things like that. And we talked about the process. Both of us kind of talked about process, myself and Ron. And Laura, you talked about your process too, of how you went from writing things down to now you've got your spreadsheet. We all have a process because it has a purpose, and it's our love of the night sky. We're capturing what we're seeing, and that becomes more of the focus. The gear helps you, but just remember that there's a wonderful cosmos out there, and every you get a chance to image it, just keep that in mind. I'm not going to change everyone's hearts. There's going to be a lot of gearheads, and that's how the industry keeps moving, right, Scott? You got to sell that gear.
That is
Someone's
true.
got to
That
love
is
it.
true. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when you
And most astronomers like the tools that they use to explore the
yes,
sky.
well,
Some of
once
them
you
can be
buy
very
that gear from
simple.
Scott, go use it and
That's
go
true.
enjoy it.
That's true.
And if you miss
I like
one,
seeing well-worn, well-used gear. If it doesn't have a
yes,
scratch on it, or it doesn't have something that shows me that you've actually really used it, then I'm just kind of disappointed. So,
right.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
that little telescope next to David has probably seen more of the night sky than any of my cameras have, and I've got a lot of catching up to do to match that little scope right there next to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Adrian. And this particular telescope, I witnessed the 1979 total eclipse with this telescope.
Ooh,
Nice.
very
A long
nice.
time ago, and I've never forgotten it. However, the best view I've ever had of the entire sky ever was on April the 8th. It was 20 seconds after I finished reading a short poem at the onset of totality under this dark, gloomy, cloudy sky, when suddenly there was the sun and the corona. And I just about died. I was so moved by it. I don't think
I
there's
could imagine how
a-
that would look. That's the sort of image I want to capture. And that's
and I
why
don't,
I've got an image similar to that behind me, because that was my goal when I went to Perrysburg, to capture how does it look around the eclipse. That's something we don't do very often or very well. So all right,
well,
Scott,
I
I think we've
know.
talked.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, both of you. And we will move on to another short video and our next speaker, which is Cesar Brolo down in Argentina. So let's run this little video first, and away we go. We're in the darkness here. And in an echo chamber too. Here we go. Hey, anyways, we have made our way around the world here, and we are down in Argentina now with Cesar Brolo, and it looks like he's set up on his balcony.
Yes, yes, this is the balcony observatory here in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yes. Yes.
And well, you can see the sky, but you can see clouds. This is a real life view of the sky actually in Buenos Aires. Fortunately, 2 weeks ago, we had a clear sky, and as today we are talking about the deepest space, going to the deep. 2 nights ago, we had a clear sky night. The first thing that we had was a conjunction of moon and the Spica stars. Before talk about the sky, I'll show you a group of pictures of our Facebook, our business, because this Saturday morning we made a meet that periodically we made this kind of meet with a time to touch. Let me show you. This is a social event in our store, and we love to make this because it's nice share the time with our customers and friends. It's a how do you say? It's a way to encourage people to make more astronomy, enjoy more the sky, and sometimes we we give a technical speech or something about information about using of telescope, processing image, or mechanics in astronomy, celestial mechanics, we call it, maybe in Spanish, mecánica celeste. Maybe I think that is similar or the same. The measure, of, for example, how the Asian people using astrolabios, or for example, this Saturday was about history of astronomy, measuring the sky, the projection of the celestial map. I'm using astrolabs, I think. Sorry that I don't know the right word in English, because it's a word that came from the Latin. But I'll show you pictures of happy people in our store.
Yeah, and you can use Latin words on this.
Yes,
so
yes.
no problem.
This is the people that came to the store. The meeting is an optical store, and of course, full of telescopes. This is me, of course, and this is the first people that came.
Okay, if you're Cesar,
later
if
came more
you're
people.
if you're intending to share your screen, you're not sharing your screen yet.
Oh, sorry. Only. No. I can't believe that I made this. Sorry. Why I make
We've
this?
all
Sorry.
made this mistake.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
Why? Yeah. It's tradition, Scott.
It's tradition, exactly.
It's traditional. Yeah.
Oh wow,
Right.
look at this. This is good.
Yes. Here is the
Yes,
first
much better.
Yes. Customers. Yes. Maybe I
This is
was ashamed
Optica Sirocco,
to show
right?
myself. Yes.
Yeah.
This is our optical store.
Mhm.
Telescope store, and is our store that is focused to be, of course, a ophthalmic optical store, but the apartment is full of telescopes. When people tell me in what Saraco I can bring my telescope. No, only in the microcentro, in the downtown store, because it's our telescope store, because and optics, of course, but because it's where we are. I am, and the people say, okay, I go to the downtown store. We have another stores in different places, different neighborhoods of city of Buenos Aires, and it's a family business. My wife, for example, is here in Palermo in a store that is only 8 blocks from my home. My morning sometimes go to the Palermo store and go to the, and after I'm go sorry to the my downtown store. Well, we are here. This is Oscar Ferro, that he's a specialist in this kind of terms about celestial mechanics. He made this kind of astrolabios, the typical circle old instruments to measure the latitude, the height of the stars, and was really interesting. Jaime Garcia that came to Buenos Aires, and we approached to make this all together. Normally Jaime Garcia is my friend that live in Mendoza, and we had fun and talking about all the things that we really enjoy. And we enjoy another thing more that because this was in the morning, and we finishing the talks, we went to the street using telescopes in the street. Of course, that many tourists came to watch the sun with us and take pictures of the sun and make observations and take pictures with the cell phone too. And for Saturdays, this is perfect. And of course that we serve coffee, sodas, and medialunas. Medialunas is a excellent thing to eat in the morning.
Oh.
Half moon. We call it this. It's like a croissant from France, but better because
it's from the bakery.
It's from the bakery, yeah, very sweet,
Nice.
beautiful, yes, yes.
Nice.
Really, yeah. And this is the pictures of our customers took, because we was very interesting the growth of sunspots, sunspots. Well, was really interesting the all the completely experience. It is the second one that we made. Next, in the next edition, we are working in serial software processing, EXOS 100 tricks to use better. And sometimes something fun is that our customers make voluntary their toys, no us. And this is better because they share their experience using their years to share to another people. And this is the best way that we can do it because we prefer, for example, about gear that our customers share with the people that their own experience. Well, another picture of the sun talking in the street, in the door outside the store. And well, this was an excellent experience. And now I'll share another thing that is here. I'll show two nights ago, not last night, if not another one, 16 and 18 of June, because we had a clear sky, not now, but maybe well, in the end of the presentation, maybe we can try to see something in this area because it's going to be clear, but I don't know. I prefer show you the pictures that I took. And as I tell you, the condition for the last screen share. Well,
Cesar, it's becoming winter there though now, right?
yes, but incredibly this is something that mixed with the climate changing. Is something that we call it Veranito de San Juan, little summer of Saint John and Saint John's. It's first of all, the winter start harder here in May, but in the first mid of the month of June, the weather is going to be more warm, and maybe next week is going to be hardly for Buenos Aires, of course, that it's not so cold, but for us it's humid and cold. Really it's going next week with a storm and rain. We return to the real winter, but now I'm using only this, and I can stand here without problems. Well, the first picture of the journey. First of all, I show you if I can make. I don't know why I need to share screen off Stellarium, but I don't know. I try.
I think Stellarium can't be in full screen mode.
Yes,
I found trouble
yes,
sharing
is the
Stellarium if
idea.
it's in full screen.
Yes, now you can see the
Yes.
Stellarium. Oh, okay, okay. Well, we are going to 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 watch the conditions in the same hour, but I show you how was
Stellarium is such a nice program.
Yes, it's the best tool for all people, of
Yeah,
course.
and I just loaded it on my computer as well. And
Yes,
it's I think it's free.
yes, it's free. Only for cell phone, you need to pay something. If you need the some advanced settings, but if not, you can use the free for a computer is all free. For the computer is totally free. I don't know if you can pay something with a something upgrade of use, but I never seen that. For the cell phone, you have a basic starting edition, and you can pay by month or by year, an upgrade edition with for using for example, moving telescope, have more objects, you know. We can put I try to show something. Sorry that I don't know why. Sorry. I was in January, sorry. I was totally now, okay. Okay. Because I need to show the time was okay, but the idea was to show you how was the sky yesterday. Was I don't know, 4:18, 6. Oh, it's okay. I don't know what. Because
Was the moon a cult
Yes.
Brachyium?
no, yes, something is wrong. I'm totally lost because I trying to show 17, okay. Okay. Now it's okay. Sorry, guys. I'm starting to show how was the sky two nights ago. We have now it's okay. Spica and the moon. This was the condition that we had where this was a conjunction between Spica and the moon.
I see.
And yes, this was the condition of the sky. I try to keep, okay. Okay, 17, yeah. Well, I'll show you the picture that I took of the moon.
Okay.
This was the base of the moon, face of the moon.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I think Robert Reeves would like that one.
No, please.
Sure.
No.
I
I
think
am
he would
in.
love it.
What do you think, Adrian?
He'd
I
start
think so.
he'd start pointing out every
Yeah,
crater.
exactly.
He'd
Exactly.
be like, this crater and that
Yeah.
crater and that mare. Oh,
Reeves loves
yeah,
the
look
moon.
at your
And
Hadley's reel here. It's beautiful.
you know, probably almost any decent image, and this is more than decent. You know, he would love to look at it. So
Next week we can do it something that we can process a lunar image in a live in live. Um sorry. Well, this is the first picture that I have. The second one, the journey going outside of the galaxy is well, we can talk about Spica that is going outside the planet, our planetary system, and we can go. Second one is Omega Centauri. Omega Centauri, we told that many times that it's the remnant of an old galaxy, is the nucleus of an active galaxy. Maybe many astronomers think, but certainly it's not only imagination, if not with different measures that they took, they think that this in the core inside of this huge global cluster, because this was at the center of a galaxy, the core of the galaxy in the past. The stars, the arms of these galaxies was absorbed, was taken by our Milky Way galaxy. And something interesting is that you can find different colors of the stars, blue, red, and it's a huge global cluster in the south hemisphere. And something interesting is that car this inside maybe have two black holes inside.
Very interesting.
Two blocks. Yes.
And you know what? I've actually seen it. Sometimes it travels far enough north to make an appearance in the lower United States. I happened to be there when it was far enough north for me to see it. Unfortunately, it was the full moon. I could still barely see it or get an image of it. I couldn't see it naked eye. Had I been able to see it on a new moon, it would have been thrilling, and I would have probably gotten a lot more of the stars that are in there.
No. It's a miracle that I'm with this telescope. I can see this kind of objects. This is really incredible. It's really far away. More far away, going outside. I don't know, maybe if I need to see which one is closer and which one is in a longer distance. I have another picture that I took, but this one, the problem is that I take this picture near to the not the sunset, if not to the morning, was the Tarantula Nebula. Many of the shots how do you say, I'm miss it because they was near to be to the morning, in the rising, in the rise. Screen not here. Yes, it's more easy to the full. Okay. I choose for the first of this picture, I choose to take a monochrome image, and I prefer no zoom to show. I am processing the color image now, but for me was a little, I'm sorry, complicated because for me, I choose first to process fastly Tarantula Nebula in black and white. And it's full of details and full of stars. You know, between buildings. And this is an area of, you can compare an area similar to the moon, and it's beautiful. This nebula is so big and so bright. Sorry, I don't hear you, Scott. Can you hear me? Oh,
I can hear you, Cesar.
okay. I couldn't listen to Scott. Well, Adrian, look that the size of this nebula is so big, and it's a nebula far away. It's in our accessory galaxies, like a large Magellanic Cloud, and the size of this nebula and bright is so strong that it is a nebula far away, and is one of the nebulas outside the galaxy, because the large Magellanic Cloud is outside the galaxy. It's our galaxies, small galaxies, accessories, it's part of our group. And the nebula is so bright that if the nebula is being at the same distance like Orion Nebula, that is closer to us, we with the light of the Tarantula Nebula at the same distance, we could going to read in the night, because it's so bright that have enough light to, at the same distance of Orion Nebula, is enough to bring us light, the quantity of light to illuminate the entire sky, read in the night. Fortunately, we don't have this in the sky. It's far away. It's far away. But
so you're calling the Tarantula Nebula the largest
yes.
amount of light pollution ever.
Yes, absolutely. If you see you can see here the clouds, because the quantity of light going to the sky from the city is so big that really you can see the clouds. That is crazy. But imagine imagine adding a nebula here with yes, maybe we are I don't know how many times. For example, I know that in some supernovas, I don't remember if was Eta Carina or another supernova that explode inside our galaxy. Sorry that I don't remember the which one was. The people could read in the night. And imagine this nebula. No, no more night for the people. All people sleeping with something to cover their eyes. No.
That's right.
But yes, and this is something I could took this picture in 2 nights ago. Sorry. Really was a black and white picture, but I'm
nice.
happy to have, yes, because all this is the best way I choose a monochromic picture to separate the quantity of objects, because this was
This is
by the light
photographed in
pollution.
the middle. It's photographed in the middle of the city, right?
Yes, absolutely. Was in this side, this between
This is
two
incredible.
buildings. Sorry, maybe I can show you where is was in the here. Imagine that.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yes, it's totally difficult make the processing because I have some gradients for the bright of the building, because look the quantity of light that they have this building. But it's interesting, and it's interesting, how do you say, it's interesting, something that you need to win against the things. I forget the word in English, but es un desafío. It's something like, well, I have in the, but you know, it's something that really I love to make this kind of things, because you have a lot of information, a lot of stars. Really is optically the quality of the picture is good. Of course, that is not the best picture. Absolutely not. It's not the best. It's maybe something wrong, but we are talking about if I say sometimes say, okay, if I can take this picture, you can make a better picture. You can. I say to the people, the best way is having your telescope in the living room, totally assembled, maybe with something with cover. If you have in a box, cables, you know, all prepared, because you have a night that you have some opportunities, and if you have your telescope in a bag, in a box, you know, is the wrong way. No, you need to telescope. If you don't have an observatory, okay, but you can get ready your telescope in your living room and
That's right.
go outside. And okay, this is something like you can make, because it's for everyone in different levels of gears. You don't need to be something complicated. I use it exactly because, for example, any one of these pictures that I showed you was guided. I have read this, but as I work, if you work a little effort more, make a little effort more to get a more precise alignment, pole alignment, you can use in 5 seconds each shoots, assembly together the acquisitions, the lights, and make a fast. You have a fast picture and you have a lot of information and see your picture read in Wikipedia about the object that you take, and you have a lot of information that really it will be something rewarding for you. Talking to the people, the customers, well, me too, of course. This is great, really. I enjoy with Adrian take these amazing pictures. Sometimes I see the pictures only in the presentation, but when I go to their official page, Flickr, or I don't remember where, well, for example, in Facebook, I open I open the Adrian pictures in the screen, and they are and this is something that I imagine that Adrian, you spend a little of time reading something about some nebula that is in the sky, or so why I can do this, and this is magic because it's a red color between the Milky Way, and this is we consider to see the pictures, but it's a mind-blowing the things that every night show to us in the sky. And really we are how do you say, really we are we are lucky to have this, enjoy this one, that for the people, you know, it's a empty sky. Maybe the people can count 5 stars in the sky, but the treasures, despite that is from the city or dark skies in the farm areas, open areas, are incredible, are open to be explored by the people. This is really interesting. I don't know if I have already another one. Yes, I have. Well, this is my last picture. It's not ready, but I have one more that I can show you of Centaurus A, another galaxy very far away, the end of this journey tonight. Right screen here. This was my last picture the last week. It's impossible to make more, but I'm happy to have this because it's a very, look that, for me, it's enough. Is the last one that I took, and the details are very interesting. Of course, that it's not really totally have noise, you know, but I love because it's with this small telescope that I took this from the city, and Centaurus A is it's a 13 millions light years. I'm happy really to have this, really. All with this small telescope at the moment. Okay, for me, you can see the share screen, no?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, well, this was all my presentation. I don't have chances. If I can make a live image of Omega Centauri or something, I advise you, Scott. Maybe after the talk of Marcello, or, you know, no problem.
You know, Cesar, one of the wonderful things about your lecture just now is I had to miss a little bit of it, but here I am. One of the wonderful things about it is it shows one world, one sky, with all the politics going on, and all people yelling and screaming and throwing buses at each other, and engines of trains. When the night sky sun goes down and the sky stars come out, whether they are where you are, or whether where I am, or whether where Adrian is, or Lori or Ron or anyone else here tonight, or Scott, it's one sky. And that brings us together in magical ways that it's so difficult to fathom. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
Yes, yes. I'm so happy that you tell this, and really you are a treasure, David, because it's so important that the people hear you, because as many times I tell you, and I'm told with the people that you are sharing with us these special times. For me especially, it's a honor that I never expect this, and it's so special because you worked by many years to teach astronomy to the people. It's really amazing. Unfortunately, my English is so short to maybe to see or to express more, but I'm hope that I can express my grateful to your participation in each global safari, and for me it's
Thank
an
you.
honor, really.
Thank you. And that brings to mind the most precious word of the entire Global Star Party, which is global. It's all over the world. It doesn't matter what you believe or what you don't believe, but the night sky is for all of us. And I think that's the most important thing about our Star Party, to which you contribute something truly unique.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
was Cesar, you, Marcelo, Maxi, Nico the Hammer introduced me to what the southern skies looked like, and it's one of the highlights of being on Global Star Party is seeing the sky in places that I can't get to right now, but sure wish that I could. One of these days make it a reality instead of just a dream of, yes, I'll be there eating the barbecue and looking up at the night sky. That's something that, I think makes the program truly special. And that's, in addition to the, just the number of people who love astronomy, love the night sky from all walks of astronomy. The great David, he'll never tell you I'm such a great person, but your love of the night sky exudes. Everyone's love of the night sky exudes from the presentation. So I learned just as much from being on Global Star Party as I do the actual presentations that are coming at home doing outreach. Now that we're in a period where people are getting outside and the media is putting things out there for people to try and go and look up.
Yes, absolutely.
There are complaints that the media over sensationalizes and overhypes things, and there's some truth to that. And I don't know, Cesar, if the media in Argentina does the same thing. The sky is so wonderful there. I don't see how anything could be overhyped in the Southern Hemisphere. But the thing that I've told folks is we have to be careful about how we respond to that, because if we tell people not to trust the media, well, who are they going to trust? Us. And the media is actually there for us to work with and to say, okay, they said you'd be able to see every single planet. Well, it's not true, but you can see this, and that, and it's, you know, it's as beautiful. We take all we have to do is take some of the sensationalism out of it, but they are already interested in night sky because of what they're seeing on, you know, the media is saying this. So we've got the interest. We cultivate that interest. We don't necessarily tell them, well, everything they say is wrong and, you know, and everything, because if we lose that spark, getting it is going to be much more difficult. Now, you can always take a telescope, plop it out on the sidewalk, and or like you do in Global Star Party, it's essentially the electronic version of you taking us with you, plopping your telescope on the
Absolutely.
sidewalk and getting the image. Tonight may not be a good night in Argentina, but it's the same sort of thing. Everyone gets curious. Just really quick to everyone, we just did a back to the moon thing where we were on the lot. We were in the corner of a University of Michigan, in a library. We pointed a bunch of telescopes at the moon, and it was amazing to see the various and different types of humanity that could come by: students, skeptics, folks who didn't think we landed on the moon, folks that are more concerned
Oh, that's
about
true.
their
Yeah.
looks.
Yes.
Every single one, when they looked through those telescopes, we had a 14-inch, we had my little 5-inch spotter, we had a projection of the moon. Astro imager was there. I even had them looking at it through a little spotting scope, or binoculars. Everyone, from the devout religious to any type of human, the ones that want to talk politics, they all stopped and looked through that telescope. It caught them by surprise. They were all amazed at what they saw. And for a brief moment, they went from whatever their facade was to being themselves, enjoying something. You talk about the moon, well, it's always there. Don't even take the moon for granted, because it can turn people on into astronomy. And
Sure.
it was such a
Yeah.
wonderful event. We had so many people look through our telescopes and ask questions and hold conversations. And it's the power of just one bright object in the night sky can do that.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's sorely needed. So I think we just have to
Yes.
be careful how we interface with the general public. Let's make sure that
Totally.
we encourage
And,
that.
and we see a show, a TV show with my kids, that is something about aliens coming to the Earth and conquest. And this is the three-body problem. Maybe you watched this in Netflix. The idea of the aliens to win and conquest the Earth, we never think this in all the movies. That is something about the idea that the media, since the idea of the aliens, it in this TV series is kill scientifics, and they win because they don't need scientifics to resolve problems, to fight against aliens, because the aliens think no, we need to kill the science, kill the Nordland. It's so powerful. And the idea is really, they don't think in to kill generals, colonels of the army, if not scientists. This is the,
Mhm.
what I say, wow. They think in the same way that today, how work the media with the culture, the Nordland, that any time is more that you tell that is more, how do you say, low, the notion of the people, every time that you need to explain why the astronauts went to the moon in
Mhm.
1969. You never stop to explain this. but maybe if you are in a telescope showing the moon, or that you tell me, the most common unsense for us, but it's a common question of the people. Really, you think that they can? Not fortunately, it's not for all people, and the kids, of course, that never thinking this. They know that it's real, but fortunately, the young and kid people never. But many people ask the same question: say, "You really think that they went to the moon? Come on!" And okay, my explanation, because it's 2 weeks ago, I had this. I received this question in a school for a parent, not for a kid. And it's really, and I say him to this parent, to this man, that if you see the technology in the Second World War, and really you can investigate the amount of technology from the Second World War, the horrible things but amazing technology things. The extrapolation of the technology is going to see that in the 1969, the people, the NASA or whatever, have enough technology to go to the moon. But the people still love to think that was all a movie, and this is something that have connection with the very low profile, very low level of information and quality of culture and education, especially of the media, but it's in the entire world, Sometimes I know that you're a lecturer, you're a professor, and come on, you're a hero out there.
Well, I'd like to share a little story about this moon thing with you, with all of you. I was on July 20th, 1969. I was at Camp Minnowbrook as an astronomy counselor, and we had all gone to the auditorium to watch the launch of Apollo 11. We all went to the auditorium to watch the landing that morning. And then that evening, I went up to the head counselor who had just announced that we'd be having free play after dinner. And I said, "Mr. Head Counselor, don't you want to assemble everyone up in the auditorium so we can watch the moonwalk?" And he barked at me and he said, "Go back to your table and do your job," which I did. But I think the owner of the camp, who was sitting nearby, overheard what I had said. Immediately, he stood up, he called for everyone's attention. He said, "Evening program is canceled. Tonight, history is going to change. The world is going to become smaller and at the same time bigger, and you all must be a part of this." Immediately after dinner, we are going to go directly to the auditorium and we are going to watch the moonwalk, which is what they did. Now, there's a lot of fuss. I mean, did we really land on the moon? Well, we did. And I remember that night, the whole evening went on, and there were times when it was light and people were talking, and it was time it was more heavy and we were watching. But then suddenly they had the live image of Neil Armstrong standing on the surface of the porch of the lunar craft. And in the auditorium, there were kids who were 6 years old, and then there was me, and then there was the camp director. And we were all absolutely silent as he walked down the ladder.
Yeah.
And he said the words that he said. And we looked at Walter Cronkite as he rubbed tears from his eyes. And you don't forget something like that. And I've never forgotten it from that day to this. And I just wanted to share that with all of you.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. You were there to see it live. I was born in 1971 and wouldn't remember any of the programs showing the moon landings. And I do remember that the public sentiment, and that's something I've heard, the public sentiment for the moon landings started to change. There, I think, talking revolution and Juneteenth, which is coming up, no one can see the fist. My community used that moon landing as sort of they can put someone on the moon, but they can't do XYZ, blah, blah. That kind of leads into the political discussions.
Yeah.
And of course, my own take on that is, yes, we put someone on the moon, but we've become kind of a culture that doesn't want to take the type of risks, at least here in America. We're a worldwide global star party, but the risks of doing it have been greatly muted in favor of safer ventures, or rest assured, everything must happen the right way, or we're just going to abort it. The tragic deaths of the three astronauts from Apollo 1. I know White is one of the names. I try to remember their names, but I think David, Scott, you all can fill me in.
White, Chaffee, and Grissom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
White, Chaffee, and Grissom sacrificed their lives to get to where Apollo 11 made it. The other Apollo missions were able to go to the moon.
Yeah. But
And I
all
would say,
astronauts, when they climb into those capsules, I mean, they are sitting on top of a bomb. Okay.
yes,
So it's they know that it's dangerous, but we climb into a car every day and race down a freeway, and almost
yeah,
every freeway has lost people, but we're comfortable with that somehow.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're,
True story. Each of the Apollo missions have had a logo, a patch that had the names on it. And Apollo 11, the astronauts chose not to have their names on it because in their minds, they said that everybody involved in the mission at NASA and up to that point were the ones who made the Apollo landing for Apollo 11 happen.
Yeah, the
Right.
tens of
Story.
thousands of people.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, Lori. That's really very,
Yeah.
very precious.
Yeah, very, very unselfish. It was a very unselfish, and everything was passed down from the next mission. Even I think the Gemini missions, we learned something gradually. This wasn't, okay, let's just go to the moon, and then this isn't a TikTok video where someone says, we're going to go to the moon, President Kennedy. And then the very next clip, you see someone dancing on the moon. It didn't happen like that.
No.
And it's, these things take time. And I know the Artemis mission is working within the confines of, well, we don't want to show disaster when we launch with humans. Everything has to be double, triple checked. We do hope that the Artemis mission does fly and fly successfully, because
Yeah.
that may reignite passion for going to the moon, passion for all things astronomy. And it might finally those that didn't believe we went to the moon in 1969 and the years following, but something about having your own generation do something, well, that we can believe. Will there be skeptics? Yes. Will there be people that are more concerned about what's going on right on this planet? There are. I was never one of those, and I suspect neither anyone listening or anyone who's still in this during this presentation. We like to know what else is out there. Even at our advanced ages, we still have curious, almost childlike wonder for what's out there in the night sky, and I think you need that in order to
A wonder is something
do
that we all need.
yeah. Yeah, you don't advance if you don't, want to know what else is there.
Yeah.
I wanted to pick up on something later you just said, that you hope that the the new moon program will inspire more of the public to get excited about astronomy and the night sky. And I would like to very respectfully disagree with that. All we need to get excited about the night sky is the night sky. You don't need a moon landing. You don't need a Mars landing. You don't need NASA, although NASA really, really is a helpful organization, my favorite government agency.
Mhm.
All you need is a little bit of passion, imagination, and you go up and see what that night sky is like every evening.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
true. And I would wish it were that way. And I guess it's one of the ways I try to use my images, David, is take pictures and say, this is what the night sky looks like. Imagine if you could see all of this. And I've gotten a lot of support from folks who, from all walks of life. And I view that as a greater mission than just simply making pretty pictures.
Well, one thing I wanted to add to your beautiful pictures is that sometime in the great future, as you're spreading your pictures out over the web and into the night sky and into space, that maybe 100 or 200 years from now, some other civilization is going to see them. And that civilization is going to look at your pictures. They're going to say, I know the Horsehead Nebula, I know it, but what I don't know are the trees that are in the
Very
background.
good point.
And let's go take a look at that particular place where Adrian took that picture and make contact with humanity. It is possible that your pictures could lead to the first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization.
Very, very good point. I actually believe that. And that's, we've got a lot of pictures out there. And see, to me, that means the pictures where you've got a little Milky Way over here and it's sort of a backdrop to some sort of amazing artificially created thing. Aliens aren't going to be able to find that planet because it isn't real, but they look at something, myself and then others who use real landscapes. That's just more reason for me to continue to produce images in the way that I try and do it, which is, well, here's a real landscape. And this is just someplace on Earth looking at the night sky. And the beauty comes from just being the night sky itself. And wherever it is, it's a calm and serene. The light from starlight hitting the whatever foreground. Those are the images I like to take. And of course, I love taking it around water. Maybe there's something to do with source of life or, any planet in which our type of life form can live on. There's water somewhere, and I'm always drawn to it. So probably something to that.
Yeah, I have been reading about the science of happiness and wonder, and psychologically, they're saying that humans need, on average, every 2 weeks, a major experience of wonder in their lives. And when you don't get it, you can fall into some level of depression. And and you can experience it in so many ways. You can see it in the, a face of a baby, or an amazing sunset, or an incredible view of a nebula or a galaxy, or understanding something that is beyond you, and beyond your normal mundane experience of life, and this is very, very important. And I think just now, it's philosophically been brought up, and you can find it in literature and all kinds of stuff. But scientists are now starting to pin it down, and there are actually university courses that teach it, and so which is very interesting. So amateur astronomers, astrophotographers get a lot of exposure to the wonder and the amazing experiences of personal exploration of the universe. So
Yeah, and
we're
Scott,
lucky.
it's a
We're
shame
lucky.
if we have all that opportunity and we use it to complain about our equipment.
Oh yeah. Or
It's
complain about anything.
or complain about anything. I
Anything.
catch myself sometimes looking up at the sky and saying, this sky's no good. And then the other side of me has to come disciplined and say, any sky is a good sky.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
We
have
talk
to be
about this
this
stuff a lot,
perfect.
Adrian,
I
so.
will agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be the perfect sky that
Oh.
that I see at Okie-Tex, and even the Okie-Tex sky isn't always perfect. But any opportunity at all to see starlight is, it's a good night.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for thank you to the audience. Thank you to our presenters. And we will be back with the 152nd Global Star Party. Really enjoyed putting these together. Honored to share this, the hosting with David Levy, and really honored to have all of you come and give your presentations and express what you do with your views of the universe. So
Thank you so much, Scotty, and God bless you.
oh, bless you guys too. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I am going to close out unless we have somebody that wants to add something here at the very end. But I think we had a wonderful 151st Global Star Party. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Uranus is the seventh planet from the Sun and the third largest planet in the solar system. It also may have the coldest interior, emitting far less heat than its counterparts Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. It is known as an ice giant because it contains more ices, including water, methane, and ammonia, than Jupiter or Saturn. And while NASA's learned a great deal about this planet over the last 3 decades, there's a lot more waiting to be discovered. Back in 1986, NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft flew by Uranus, making it the first and only spacecraft to visit this distant planet. Previous observations showed that Uranus has a unique tilt of its axis, so it rotates almost on its side, causing its poles to actually face the Sun. No other planet in our solar system has this feature. In its quick sprint past Uranus, Voyager discovered 10 new moons orbiting the planet that had not been seen before. And in the decades since, even more have been found. During its encounter, Voyager also saw new faint rings and explored the complex magnetosphere. Voyager only briefly viewed the planet's 5 major moons: Ariel, Miranda, Titania, Oberon, and Umbriel. These moons have a wide variety of terrains and geological features, some of which indicate possible subsurface oceans. Small Miranda has chaotic terrain, with deep canyons and tall mountains, but is likely now frozen solid. Ariel appears to have the youngest surface, with few impact craters. While Titania has a very old surface, the lack of large craters and presence of a large canyon system may indicate ancient resurfacing. Oberon is also covered with craters and has valleys and large mountains. Umbriel's surface is the darkest of the Uranian moons, and it sports a strange polar ring. The origin of this ring is still a mystery, but scientists believe that it may have been formed by an icy impact. Since Voyager, ground-based telescopes and the Hubble Space Telescope have played the leading role in our understanding of Uranus. Since 1992, Hubble has watched the slowly changing Uranian seasons, including changes in its unusual pale blue color and polar hazes. Telescopes have also revealed that Uranus has a complex weather system with massive storms that can last for months or even years, with wind speeds over 500 miles per hour. The ongoing search for ocean worlds and life beyond Earth makes Uranus an exciting target for the James Webb Space Telescope and for future up-close exploration. New data will help scientists to understand the formation and evolution of Uranus, as well as its moons and rings, and provide clues as to whether liquid water may reside beneath their icy crusts. The fascinating properties of this planet, discovered in just the span of a few decades, reveal that unlocking mysteries here can help scientists learn even more about our solar system and our place in it.
I'd like to invite all of you to come to the next Global Star Party. They are run by Scott Roberts of Explore Scientific and me. We co-host this program, and it's usually done on Tuesdays, and usually at 6 o'clock or so Central Time. And so I hope to see you all there. My name is David Levy, and I hope to see you all at the very next Global Star Party. Thank you.